Hi there, and I am Michael Buckoff, the founder-owner and the materials writer for all of your lessons at the 7-step system to pass the TOEFL IBT. And I'm going to answer a question submitted by someone at Quora.com. So your question is very specific. What are the specific requirements for getting a grade higher than 23 in TOEFL speaking part? You say, I mean, most students with an ordinary pronunciation, easy to understand yet not so standard, could get a 23 after some time preparation. What should they do after that? It is said that they have to make a breakthrough in their delivery. Is it possible to improve the language use and topic development? Good. I like this. It's a very, very specific question. So, in order to understand the first part of your question, if you want to get higher than 23, let's say you want to get closer to 26, you need to get a score. Let's just say you want to get a score of 26, right? So you want to get 4, 4, 4, 4, 3, 3. If you can get a score of 4 on 4 of your speaking tasks, and you can get a score of 3 on 2 of them, that's going to put you at 26 points or higher. So you're going to be in pretty good shape. Obviously, if you get a 4 on all 6 of them, that's going to put you at 30 points out of 30. Am I right? Okay, now, let's continue on with your question. Okay, so I think the next thing I want to do is I want to take a look at the rubrics now. So I think for you, it's important to understand what you need to do to get higher than 3. So you can go to the rubrics too if you want to look at it. I'm going to focus more on the 4 area, right? So you want to be better than what you see here. Okay, so in terms of your general description for the independent speaking tasks, as it says at ETS, the response fulfills the demands of the task with at most minor lapses in completeness. It is highly intelligible and exhibits sustained coherent discourse. A response at this level is characterized by all of the following. So that's probably why you said this about having a breakthrough in delivery, because in the rubrics it does say highly intelligible, which means it's very easy. You're easily understood when you speak English, right? So in terms of delivery, here's what we know. You need to have a generally well-paced flow of fluid expression. That means you don't want a lot of pauses and hesitations. Your speech is clear. You may have minor lapses or minor difficulties with pronunciation or intonation patterns, which do not affect overall intelligibility. Right? So with my students, here's the rule. The rule is very simple. When students in my online course are posting speaking practice tests, if I have to stop the recording and go back to listen to what they just said because I wasn't sure what they said, they're not going to score in the 4 range. That means that their problems are affecting their intelligibility. And I'm having to go back and re-listen to some of what they're saying. That's a good, fast rule. So if you are taking an online TOEFL course and you have a TOEFL IBT speaking specialist, anytime if he or she has to stop your recording and go back and listen to what you're saying, you're not going to get in the 4 range. Okay, language use. You mentioned this. You talked about this in your response. The response demonstrates effective use of grammar and vocabulary. It exhibits a fairly high degree of automaticity with good control of basic and complex structures as appropriate. Some minor or systematic errors are noticeable but do not obscure meaning. So, going back to your question here, you said, is it possible to improve language use and topic development? I think this is part of your question. It says here, to get a score 4, a response is characterized by all of the following, which means you have good delivery, you have good language use, you have good topic development. If you have a problem in one of these areas, you're not going to score in the 4 range. So I think going back to your question, it's not possible, I think, to get a high score on the TOEFL, for example, 26 or higher, if you have problems in 1, 2, or 3 of those categories that I'm explaining to you right now. Okay, topic development. Let's take a look at this. Response is sustained and sufficient to the task. It is generally well developed and coherent. Relationships between ideas are clear, or a clear progression of ideas. Now, this is also important. It means that you have a general idea and you always have more specific details to support those generalizations. That shows what I call, in my own opinion, depth. Depth and complexity of thought. If you can do that, you'll have good topic development. All right, so let's compare the rubrics and the description in the for area. And remember, what I'm doing here is what I was showing you a minute ago is you're trying to aim to get a score of 4 in every speaking task. If you do that, then for sure you'll probably get higher than 23 if you set that as a standard and you work toward that standard. So let's go back to integrated now. Let's see what we have here. Okay, as it says in the other one, the response fulfills the demands of the task with the most minor lapses in completeness. It is highly intelligible and exhibits sustained coherent discourse. A response at this level is characterized by all of the following. So delivery. Speech is generally clear, fluid, and sustained. It may include minor lapses or minor difficulties with pronunciation or intonation. Pace may vary at times as a speaker attempts to recall information. Overall intelligibility remains high. Now, interesting. So they're giving you a little bit of flexibility with the pace. The TOEFL understands that as you're summarizing, reading, and listening passages, sometimes you may pause to recall and remember the information or look at your notes to explain the information, so you can have some minor, I think, pauses and some minor hesitations that won't affect your score. All right, language use. The response demonstrates good control of basic and complex grammatical structures that allow for coherent, efficient, automatic expression of relevant ideas. Contains generally effective word choice, though some minor or systematic errors or imprecise use may be noticeable. They do not require listener effort or obscure meaning. So those are things you want to think about with language use. Again, though, to answer your question, you have to have good delivery, right? And you have to have good language use and good topic development if you want to get the score 4. So topic development, the response presents a clear progression of ideas and conveys the relevant information required by the task. It includes appropriate detail, though it may have minor errors or minor omissions. So you may leave out some small point, but you haven't left out any major either main ideas or major support points. Okay, so now let's get into the nuts and bolts of, I have a little bit more information I think that can help you. So now the question is, how do you get higher than 23 on the speaking section of the TOEFL IBT? What are some things that you can do today and tomorrow, maybe this week and next week, that will begin to have some effect on helping you improve your speaking score? First thing I've already gone over. So you need to make sure you understand the speaking rubrics. Everything I've explained here, you want to make sure you understand this. You can go to Google. You can see exactly what I'm looking at. You can type in the keywords TOEFL Speaking Rubrics. That's all you got to do, and you will find these. Make sure you understand what these rubrics are, because this explains how you're graded. Now, the second thing. Now, there's, what do I have here? I got 1, 2, 3, 4. I got five things that I think that you can do that will help you achieve your score of 23. So, the delivery thing is very important. I'll give you an example. 2 months ago, I had several of my students that were in the 22 to 23 point range, and I wanted to try out something a little bit different. A lot of my students were posting speaking practice every day. They were in a rut. They were making exactly the same pronunciation problems. They were pretty good with their language use. They had good topic development, but their delivery was holding them back. So I told my students that, hey, let's take a break from doing the TOEFL speaking and let's work on pronunciation for a while. So I had my students complete some pronunciation practice exercises over the next 3-4 weeks. So they worked really hard at improving their delivery. And guess what? The 4 students that I was spending a lot of time with, each of these students got a breakthrough and they got 27 points on the speaking on their next TOEFL exam. So it did help. So that's very important. So this brings me to my first suggestion. If you are one of my students, this is what I would tell you right now. Complete my pronunciation pretest for vowel and consonant sounds. That's the first thing. So you're going to go to my website, join my course, you complete my pretest, and then I will tell you which vowel and which consonant sound you're having the most trouble with, and then you can study those specific lessons. I have over 48 different pronunciation video lessons for my online TOEFL course students today. That's my first suggestion. So probably for about 2 or 3 weeks, you'll be working really hard with your vowel and your consonant sounds. You'll be posting some of those practice exercises for me. I'll give you feedback. You'll continue to practice. Then once you feel like you've mastered the vowel and consonant sounds of American English, then you go to the next suggestion. You complete a second pronunciation pretest, this time focusing on syllable division and grammatical word endings, word stress, sentence rhythm, intonation, and thought groups and blending. And you'll go through the same process. Once you've completed the pretest, I will tell you which of these lessons you need to focus more on. Then you will start reviewing and studying those lessons. You will take some of those practice exercises. You will post them for me to listen to so I can give you feedback on your pronunciation progress. Now, once you've done that for 2 or 3 weeks and you feel like you've mastered those areas, these are the advanced areas in the pronunciation part of my TOEFL course, then you go to the final pronunciation pretest. Then I will give you feedback one last time. Right? So that's really the first 3 things that you can do over the next 3 or 4 weeks. Now, as you're doing that, certainly on a daily basis, you can start posting independent and integrated speaking practice tests until you are consistently scoring between 24 and 26 points. Each time you do a speaking practice test, I will give you a score. I will tell you it's 3.0, it's 4.0, it's 2.0, and so on, so you can monitor your progress. My recommendation is very simple. As you're doing the speaking practice, keep a speaking journal. And you want to write down any comments I give you regarding delivery, language use, and topic development. And then after you do the speaking, I will also review, or I will recommend specific lessons that you can focus on to get better. For example, if I notice you're having problems with organization, I will refer you to my TOEFL Speaking lesson number 7, which will help you learn how to more coherently organize your ideas. Similarly, if you're having a problem with grammar, for example, maybe you're having trouble with the more complex sentences like sentences with noun clauses, adjective clauses, or adverb clauses. These are what we call in English grammar the complex sentence and dependent clauses and so on. So if you're having trouble there, I will refer you to specific lessons in the grammar part of my course so that you can improve, right? And you're writing down this information. You are reviewing these recommended lessons, and then you're posting more practice tests and getting feedback. So finally, the last thing you want to do, make sure that you're deliberately increasing your exposure to the English language through watching movies, listening to the radio, and talking to native speakers. Getting higher than 23 is serious business. You have to make a conscious effort to really surround yourself with English, to use as much English as you can, and that will have a very dramatic impact on helping you to speak more naturally. you'll have much better control of your vocabulary and your grammar, and you will be able to organize and develop your responses more effectively. These things will happen after you continue to increase your exposure. So those are my recommendations. Basically, completing completing these pretests here and then doing the final pretest at the end. Actually, not pretest. I'm using the wrong word there. You can complete the final pronunciation post-test, and then you can start posting independent and integrated speaking and continue to increase your exposure. If you do these things I've outlined in this video, you will get better. No joke. You have to get better. You have no other alternative other than to improve, because these things are tried and proven practices to help you get better. All right? Anyway, thank you for watching the video. And for more information, you can go to my online TOEFL course at onlinetoeflcourse.com. All right, thank you.